Hi everyone, this is Adrian at 18 Echo SF. I decided to make a second video concerning the modification I made to my Kimber Stainless Pro Carry 2. Just to clarify a few points, and I'm going to remove the original video which I posted yesterday. They'll be very similar, but I just wanted to go back over a few things. Anyway, over the years I've owned a number of Kimber handguns. My wife has a stainless Target 2, 5-inch gun, 9mm, fabulous pistol for her. And all of my Kimber handguns have been .45 calibers. And I had an Ultra Carry 2, which is the 3-inch officer's model. And I've had two Pro Carry 2s. They are the Commander length. I happen to love 4-inch guns, and I always seem to return to that length, so hence I have another one. Anyway, I've always wondered why Kimber insisted on using the full-length guide rod that they use in the Pro Carries as well as the Ultra Carry, because over the years there have been many articles written about why the companies have chosen to use full-length guide rods versus the GI model. And it has never been proven that the full-length guide rod has made the gun any more accurate or any more efficient. So I started thinking, I wonder if there's a way that I could change my guide rod and my gun to have the short GI guide rod, because to disassemble the Kimber 4-inch guns, you need to use this little L-shaped tool that when the slide is back and it's all together, the spring of course gets compressed in here, and you're able to put the little L-shaped tool in here to hold the spring back, so this can, whoops, let me put that back in there. So the entire unit can then be removed from the gun without the spring flying off. And then when you're all done cleaning the gun and you put this back in and hold the slide back, and then you remove this so that the spring will lengthen itself. Well, when you're out in the field, it's kind of a pain in the rear end to do that, because you either have to have that L-tool or a bent paper clip, which will work as well. Now the 3-inch gun, you can actually remove that guide rod without using the tool, but on the 4-inch guns you absolutely cannot get that out, because you cannot get it past the hood of the slide. So I decided to do some research and see if it was possible to change that out. Well, I was out at the Wilson Combat website and looking at some of their guns, and they have a model called the Combat Professional or Professional that is basically set up just like the Kimber is. It's a 4-inch barrel, and it uses a reverse plug guide rod plug with a spring and the short GI guide rod. So I contacted a guy that I've become friendly with, one of the techs at Wilson, and asked him, shouldn't that work in my Kimber? And he said, yeah, it should. So I went out to a 1911 forum that I go to, a Kimber forum, and there's a real nice guy out there. His name's Rick MC. And I posted a question that concerning, was it possible that anybody think you could do this as well? And he responded and said, yeah, it should work, with no problem. So I ordered the parts from Kimber, 2 springs, a 20 and a 22-pound spring. Kimber uses a 22-pound spring. And the GI guide rod in stainless, since my gun is a stainless gun. Well, the parts arrived about a week and a half ago, and I tore the gun down, disassembled the stock guide rod, and attempted to put the new springs from Wilson, which were longer by about 1.75 inches, into the gun. And I absolutely could not get the spring to compress enough to lock the a GI guide rod in with the barrel link. So I removed it, put the stock guide rod back in because I was getting ready to leave for a defensive handgun course through a company called International Tactical Training Seminars just north of Los Angeles. It's run by a 30-year LAPD SWAT officer named Scott Reitz and his wife Brett McQueen. Fabulous course, great school. Anybody is looking for some training, you might want to definitely look into them, particularly if you're in California or nearby. I'll put a link to their website at the bottom of this in the remarks column as well. So I didn't want to take the gun to the school with anything other than stock parts because I wanted it to work perfectly. So I went to the class, came home, tore the gun down, and decided that I would, instead of using the Wilson Combat spring, that I would do, I would take the suggestion of Rick MC at the forum and use the stock Kimber spring. Well, I have to tell you, with the stock reverse guide rod plug, the stock Kimber spring, and the Wilson Combat GI guide rod, it worked absolutely perfect. It cycled perfectly. Everything seemed just like it was original. So the very next day, which was just 2 days ago, I went to the range. I fired about 100 rounds through the gun. It worked flawlessly and shot beautifully. So I then knew that this was a modification that Kimber could do as in their stock guns if they chose to. So I'm not quite sure, why they use the full-length rod, because full-length guide rod, because this system works easy and it makes it much, much easier to tear the gun down and put it back together. So that's my reasoning behind all of this. I wanted to have a gun that required no tools to take apart. So I'm going to tear the gun down quickly and I'll show you how that's done. So let me just move these out of the way and hopefully I'll keep everything in focus. I'm working behind the camera here. So anyway, there's a stock Kimber magazine. I use Wilson Combat magazines, but I'm just using that as a rest. And just to show you, we'll clear the weapon and show you that there is, nothing in the chamber, and the magazine well is clear as well. So safe gun. Okay. So to take the gun down after it's cleared, of course, you take the safety off, and just like you do on all commander-style guns normally, you just pull the slide back to the slide stop notch, which you can see, and then push the slide stop out from the backside and then remove it. And then release the slide easily because the spring is captured by the dust cover and you don't want it to just fly out, which it could. So grab the gun like this and then pull this off, and you'll notice that the spring is now captured by my finger. So we'll try to keep everything in focus here and just pull this out. And here's the stock Kimber spring, and here is the Wilson Combat stainless GI guide rod. Beautifully machined, by the way, I'll also tell you that. And in here is sometimes it's a little bit of a bear to get this out, so hold on 1 second if you would. There we go. Here's the stock Kimber reverse guide rod plug. So, and then I'll remove the barrel as well. So the slide, barrel, and the other parts. So as you can see, very, very easy to take apart, and then to put everything back together. Slide the barrel back in, make sure it's locked down. Put the guide rod plug. Snap that back in. Put the GI guide rod inside the spring. Make sure you do it on the correct end of the spring, of course. One end is basically closed and the other end is open. So you slide this in. And then slide the spring in. Make sure the barrel link, is up. and just pull this back. It's very easy, and hold it with your finger so that it won't pop out like so. Slide the frame back on. Make sure you don't catch your finger down here where the dust cover is, and just pop that back in. Make sure that the hole for the slide stop is clear. Sometimes you have to adjust that, as you know. And then drop the slide stop back in. Pull the slide all the way back to the notch. Line up the notch to the notch on the frame, and then snap that in and release, and the gun is now back in working order again. So as you can tell, this was a pretty easy process. I'm actually very happy with it, and as I said, the gun fired beautifully. So I know the gun will work from now on just like this, and I will not return to the full-length guide rod. I ordered some new springs from Kimber now, since I have about 800 rounds through this gun. And I also ordered a new reverse guide rod plug, since the end of the original one gets slightly dinged up a little bit when the end of this is holding it back, and from taking it apart and cleaning it all the time. I just decided to put a new one in and keep the original parts in case I would ever sell this gun, which I don't think I'm going to do. This gun is actually a keeper. So I hope this has been interesting and helpful for any of you out there who own pro carries and have wondered about that guide rod setup in your gun. And if you have any questions that I can answer, feel free to put a comment on the YouTube video, or send me a private message even, and I will surely be happy to answer it for you. So stay well and safe out there, and I'll see you down the road.